Okay, let's talk real quick about the difference between sharpening our knife and honing our knife. When we sharpen our knife, we are actually using a grit material like a stone to remove metal from the knife and reform the blade to attain sharpness. We would then hone the blade after the fact to make sure that we remove any burr that we've created during the sharpening process and refine that blade edge. And what happens when your knife gets dull, if you haven't truly abused your knife for a long period of time, is your blade will look like this under magnification. And you will have a misalignment of your blade edge. And when you hone a knife, all you're doing is bringing it back into alignment so that it's sharp again. We should prefer to hone our knife all the time over sharpening our knife. We're not removing as much material, even if we're using a honing compound, which are a clay-based compound. We're not removing near as much material by honing as we are sharpening. So in this video, we're going to specifically cover honing our knife. This is something that I do after almost every use of my knife if it's for an outing. You can use different types of stropping devices. This is a paddle strop with a rougher leather side and a smoother leather side. We'll talk about that in just a minute. You can use a belt strop, and there are advantages and disadvantages to this, which we'll talk about in a minute. And this is just a saddle leather type belt that I wear around my waist that you can carry in the woods and also use for a strop if you need to. I use a honing compound. This is a Tormek honing compound that's got some grit to it, so you'll have a grit side of your strop and you'll have a non-grit side of your strop. If you're using the grit side of your strop that has compound on it, you are doing some sharpening of your blade. Once you go to the other side and you have nothing on here but the leather, you are now stropping the blade to refine the edge. We're going to talk about both convex grinds, and we're going to talk about the grinds on like a pocket knife, which could be a hollow grind, and we'll also talk about Scandinavian type grinds in this video. Okay, real quick, let's talk about this compound. We have a rough and a smooth side on this strop. We're going to take compound, we're going to dress this strop on the rougher side. So kind of feel it and feel out which side is better for you to use your compound on, and then basically just squirt some compound. This is a new one here. Just squirt some compound on the leather itself, just like that. It doesn't need to be a lot. And then just rub it into the leather, just like this. And that will dress your strop for use. And you can redress this strop as often as you feel necessary. It doesn't have to be done every single time you use it. Now the other advantage of this stropping compound is if I've got a blade like this Case Hunter that's got some heavy patina on it, and I want to clean it up just a little bit, maybe I left it in my backpack and it got moist, I can squirt a little bit of compound onto some type of a rough muslin material like a rag or something like that, and I can then use that to kind of wipe my blade down with gently, just like this. And you can see the color coming off. And just be mindful and careful of what you're doing. Wipe it down really well. And then with the clean side, you can wipe the compound off. But when you strop the knife, you'll wipe the compound off anyway after the fact. And then you can take that knife and you can use the compound side and just register the bevel and pull towards you. Register on the bevel and pull towards you. Register on the bevel and push away from you. And you can do multiple strokes in one direction, or you can change every time, just like this. And now you're kind of sharpening this blade because you've got a little bit of grit on here, so you are removing some material. So if you've let your blade go just a little bit further than you should have, stropping it with compound should bring it back without having to take it to something as rough as a stone. Now once you have done as many strokes as you think you need to do with the compound on there, and it could be up to 50 on each side to get that blade polished and honed in where you want it to, or sharpened where you want it back to, then you can go to the dry side and come on the dry side and do your final honing process of that blade the same way. Now generally when I finish working on my blade, and I'll do the other one as well, I usually use ballistol to just lubricate the blade before I put it away. And I don't worry about getting it on my handles and all that stuff. It doesn't bother me a bit to get that all over my knife because it just helps preserve everything on the knife. And then I will go to the other blade and start working on that on a pocket style knife. Okay, for a Scandinavian style blade like this butcher knife, it's exactly the same thing. You're going to register the bevel on the strop, pull the blade toward you, and push the blade away from you along the blade edge on the strop, just like this. And this is the same $3 butcher knife that I've had forever. And now I'm just kind of cleaning up the face of the knife with the strop. I'm not sharpening the blade now. I'm cleaning up the face of this knife. Basically cleaning off the sides. So I'm not registering the bevel at all. I'll clean that off. Now I'll go back in, register my bevel. And sharpen the knife. Okay, so the next question you would ask is, what if I don't have a strop and I'm in the woods? Is this flat paddle strop going to be the best thing for my convex grind knife? Well, no, it's really not. A strap type strop is going to be better for your convex grind knife. In reverse, a strap type strop, a leather strap type strop, will eventually over time turn your Scandinavian grind into a convex grind. So you have to use that sparingly to hone your knife, only when you're in the woods, and then use your paddle strop as soon as you get out of camp and back to your house. But you can use a strap style strop anytime on your convex grind blades. So let's talk about that. I've just taken a leather belt here, wrapped it around a pole, which could be a tree. And I've got some compound here, again, this Tormek compound from Sweden. But if I didn't have compound, and I really needed compound in the woods because my blade was a little bit beyond just a plain dry strop, then I could use any kind of clay-based mud, because that's all this stuff really is a clay-based compound. So I'm going to put a little bit of this on the strop again and rub it in and dress my strop. On the rough interior side of my belt, just like that. And in this case, I've got a Jeff White convex grind butcher style knife that I'm going to use. And I'm going to just put that on, and you can see how that gives. So it kind of wraps itself around that convex edge. And that's why eventually doing this will turn a Scandinavian grind into a convex grind, because it's going to wrap like that and give, which eventually is going to change the grind geometry of your Scandinavian grind. But just register that thing as best you can and roll it into the strop. It's the same thing here, just kind of roll it into the strop. You can go heavy on the first strokes and then lighter as you go, just like this. When you get done with that thing, you're going to have something that is absolutely razor sharp. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button at the bottom of the channel. Somehow I think YouTube has turned off a lot of notifications that are going out to subscribers, because views on several people's channels that I know are starting to slip off from the norm, and I think it's because some kind of a notification setting has been automatically shut off or inadvertently shut off, probably during that YouTube shutdown last week where they crashed. So just pay mind to that. If you're interested in seeing more of my videos, make sure that you're subscribed, make sure your notification bell is turned on. Again, I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everything you do for our school, for our family, and for our business, for all of our sponsors, instructors, affiliates, and friends. I'll be back with another video as soon as I can. Thanks, guys.